everybody. Welcome to the, what do we call it? The Viva Connections SharePoint framework call here. It's very exciting. We've got all sorts of exciting stuff. Move on to the next slide there, David. Gotcha. Good. Perfect. Great. All right. So we got all sorts of community updates, project updates. It's going to be exciting. We'll take a picture. And then we've got 3 awesome demos from João, Martin, and Dan. We got one on embedding Teams chat in SharePoint. You thought you were bringing SharePoint into Teams. Now you're going to bring Teams back into SharePoint. We're going to go full Teamception. Very exciting. All right, then we got a new site form lookalike. Very excited about that. And then Dan's coming in with a tenant-wide extensions manager. Very, very cool stuff. All right, let's go. We're not going to explain that for the recording, right? Why I'm doing that? Perfect, great. All right, well, if you haven't had a chance to get involved just yet, be sure to check out all these awesome resources we got for you. We got a ton of videos, including this one, right? You may be watching this right now. What? That's crazy, right? We've got a LinkedIn group. So if you're over on LinkedIn, you want to do all those, I don't know, professional type things, you can do that with us too. We also have a Discord group we're going to talk about at the end if you're a little cooler than the LinkedIn group. And then we've got all sorts of different open source repositories for you, a ton of sample galleries. I mean, we've got literally hundreds and hundreds of samples available for you, all for free for you to take advantage of, to use in your own solutions or to give back to the community. And you can check all of that out and get all those links at that primary link there, that aka.ms/community/home. Perfect. And then, of course, we're on our calls here, right? So this call is the last one there. You want to check that out, of course. But if you go to that community/calls link there right at the bottom of the slides, you'll find links to all of these things so you can join. We do this one every other Thursday. We rotate with that general dev, which I think we're calling the Power Platform Community and M65 call. Right, but then there's also these Microsoft calls on Tuesdays, and we've got monthly calls on Power Platform and Office add-ins. And all of these get recorded and posted to YouTube if you're not able to attend at the time. So do it. Woo! Okay.
I can follow. You don't have to keep grunting, but I think everybody does love it.
All right.
I think about the people who have no idea why we're doing this. So
No
it's
clue.
Like,
Yeah.
I joined 2 minutes late, and it's like, why?
Chris is just grunting because David's sharing, Chris is talking. It's a team effort, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably for the best. I've got a message that says I need to activate my Windows right now. So, it's great that David's doing this. All right, but make sure you check out our Power Platform weekly call. The next one here is on Wednesday, the 26th of September. We got 3 awesome demos there as well.
Tuesday.
So
Tuesday.
Again, what? Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Well, you could go on Tuesday or you can watch the recording on Wednesday. Look how I spun that one. Woo! All right. All right, and if you are wanting to be one of those presenters, well, good news. If you are able to communicate, you don't even have to click a next slides button, it turns out. And you can present, you just come over here to this this link here, and you can fill out this form here, and we'll get you scheduled to the call. You can demo off something that you've contributed to the open source community, but also demo something you've just built that's really cool that you want to inspire others with. It's all good. All right. And I think this one is, let's see, David, you talking about this one?
Yes, I will cover this one. Thank you, Chris. So, friends, sharing is caring. You know it well, and if you don't, what it is, it's a program that's going to provide you hands-on guidance. What does that mean? It means we're going to join Teams calls together. We're going to walk through a number of things that you may not be sure how to accomplish right now. Things like submitting to GitHub, doing those pull requests. What is a pull request? We're going to do it together. You're going to be feeling confident and comfortable, and you're going to leave ready to contribute to this community. We've got a sample contributor session scheduled for October, just right after the Power Platform Conference. So when you go get all those exciting innovations and ideas that you want to do, we're going to be here for you. So definitely go get scheduled for that, ak.ms/sharing is caring. Do I grunt at myself to move to the next slide? Okay. So now let's talk about how you are going to be recognized. We want to recognize you. We have a community recognition program because we want to give you the opportunity formally and officially show off all the amazing work that you're doing. And we're getting into the fall, so that's going to bring lots of fun thematic badges. So you can see we've already got our pumpkin spice lot of commits ready to go. You can earn that anytime between September and December. And of course, we're already prepped for Hacktoberfest. It's right around the corner. If you contribute to any of our repos, you are going to get a Hacktoberfest badge, but it's only available in October. So go get signed up, ak.ms/community/recognition. Chris.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm just gonna turn it over to Vesa for some SharePoint framework updates.
There we go. Excellent. So we announced the SharePoint Framework 1.18 GA on 12th of September. So that's 1.5 weeks ago. So please use the 1.18. We're not aware of any issues related on this one and seems to be working fine. It is also using Node.js 18 version, which is now the recommended versions to use. Let's go to the following slide. And here we go. So a few examples of 1.18. So the key point there was really the focus on Viva Connection. There is a lot of flexibility now on the Viva Connection cards, so you can really build those engaging dashboards. So there's a lot of options to do, for example, text boxes and combinations of things. So a lot of cool stuff there. Let's go to the following slide. The following slide is quickly showing you the growth pattern, which is pretty amazing, actually. We are curving to this moon right now on the worldwide adoption of SPFx. So SharePoint Framework does give you the pro developer storyline for Microsoft 365, and it's cool to say that the development is growing, so the adoption is going off the roof. The following slide is quickly listing what's in 1.18. And also, we're working on that Viva Connection Advanced Card Designer. That's a really cool feature. And more details on that one. We'll get more demos on that for sure in the community calls. And then there's the bot-powered Viva Connection Aces, which is coming pretty soon as well. On 1.19, there's nothing we can share at this point too much, but there's going to be cool stuff across the stack. So a lot of awesome stuff. Let's then move to the project updates across the individual initiatives.
Vesa, I think everybody's waiting for a Vesa grunt. Classic. Love it. Respect you.
All right.
Nobody has any idea why we're doing this now. Why?
PnPjs. Right. Julie, you on there? There you go.
So what you're saying is just breathe in and out of a paper bag and I'll be okay? All right. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yes. Version 3.18 was released September 11th. We did fix a small little bug. There was a couple of JS extensions in the queryable package that were missing to allow for Node.js imports. So that got fixed. Mostly we are focused on version 4, so that's well underway. If you are interested in what's going on with that, issue 2678 links to our project planning board. So you can see we update that regularly when we find new things or come up with new ideas or whatever, but also there is a V4 branch and you can see the changelog is underway there. So you can kind of get a preview of what's been happening and what's upcoming. If you are interested or have used our queryable extensions feature in V3, we believe we will be deprecating that for V4. We believe it's unused and it's causing some extra work in the pipeline, the standard pipeline that we'd like to remove because it adds a little overhead that we think we don't need anymore. So we're thinking about removing that. If you have an issue with that, please do comment or reach out to us in some way. The V3 nightly builds are still out there, so any bug fixes that do happen or pull requests that do get merged on the V3 branch will show up in that nightly build the next day. You can always follow us on LinkedIn, the Microsoft 365 platform community. We do post there for any updates or listings, and if I feel like it, I will sometimes log into X and post on that M365 PnPjs account, but we'll see how long that lasts. All right, I am not going to grunt. I'm going to go lay down with a cold compress, and I will see you all later. Back to you, Chris.
I'll do a Julie grunt. That's my impression. All right, Gary, you want to talk about the CLI?
Cheers, Chris. So we are basically on our way to releasing V7 of CLI for Microsoft 365 at the end of the month. So we are releasing the next version into beta. So if you want to try out V7 now, you can just use the next tags for installing from npm or from Docker to get the latest CLI major version. So this has a few new commands. So we've got Azure AD command for removing Azure AD groups, a new command for getting tenant information from your M365 tenant, and also we're supporting the project upgrade to 1.18 for SharePoint framework. This is a huge update, and I just want to show on the screen how many lines of code and files this has changed. It's huge. This is the main reason is we are moving from CommonJS to ES modules, which is going to give us a massive performance increase as well, which is fantastic. So everyone who's been involved in this, code side, doc side, it's been a massive effort to get to V7. I highly encourage you to look at the release notes. Go to aka.ms/CLI-M365/notes, where you'll see some breaking changes. We've kept them to an absolute minimum, but there are a few that you might want to take a look at. We have our first office hours call as well that's happening on Monday. So if you're interested, you've got questions around V7 as well, please jump into our Discord server that you can join at aka.ms/CLI-M365/Discord. You've got the event on there, and you can just sign up and join in and come and have a chat. And with that, on to the next slide. Okay, Microsoft 365 Developer Proxy. We don't have any new releases or updates to really talk about this week, but it's more about what's coming, and what's coming next week is the new 0.12 release, where we're going to have the ability to mock an nth request. So that's mock like the second or third request, simulate the slow API responses, mocking the graph batch responses, showing errors for unmocked requests, and also support for custom rate limiting behavior. So again, that's going to be arriving at the end of next week. And Chris, back to you.
All right. Be sure to mute yourself. Thanks. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, good. All right, so let's see. Am I talking about this one? Yeah. So reusable SPFx controls. If you haven't had a chance to use these and you're using SPFx at all, what's wrong with you, right? You got to get on these. You got to get into them. So there's all sorts of awesome things. So don't write your own people picker, right? Don't write your own list picker. Don't write your own file picker or any other type of picker, perhaps. There's way more than just pickers in there. But again, start with those. You're going to get a whole lot further along, right? Don't have to recreate, a taxonomy picker for the 1000th time, right? Start there, and then you can work on the stuff that you actually have to get done. All right, so check those out. There've been some updates, very exciting. Moving on. Search connections. Who's this? This is Adam. Adam, you there?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, I'm here. So Viva Connections Toolkit, we released a new major V2 on a day in the past, not so long ago. So if you are already using this extension, you don't have to do anything. It will update automatically. If you don't use it, please give it a try. We added some cool features that will help you create a CI/CD GitHub workflow for SPFx project, an action that will help you rename your SPFx project. We support now site level app catalogs to deploy your package, and many, many more like code snippets. So be sure to give it a try. And if you are interested in all of the details, be sure to scan that QR code or go to the release blog post in the bottom right corner of the slide. We are already looking ahead for the next minor release, 2.1, and this will be more a technical update, so no new features rather expected, maybe some bug fixes. I hope not, because currently we don't have any. And we are already looking ahead for the V3. So we are getting ideas. If you have anything that is like daunting and you would like to do better, automate some stuff regarding SPFx project, be sure to join the discussion, let us know, and maybe we'll do something for you in this area. And we already have a bunch of those ideas. So if you want to vote on something that should meet the V3, because we cannot do anything at once, be sure to give this link a check also. Okay, I guess that's about it. Grumping.
All right.
Thank you. Well, release is Wednesday. I probably should have removed that because that was probably 2 weeks ago, or maybe 4 even. So
it was a Wednesday.
Yeah, it was a Wednesday, right? I would, if someone is up for it, we need to update the PnPjs of these web parts to get on board. I think we're on version 2.0 something, right? We're way back. So that'd be good if someone wants to help out. We have some other things which should be added as well. I have very limited time myself to do development, and same as Frank. So contributors. If you have a feature you need for your customer, please do a PR and don't do custom work. And I know people do custom work and custom solutions for the customers and not contributing back. Don't do it. Sharing is caring. And I saw there was a hand up by my good friend Kasper. Do you have something you want to say?
I think he was just accidentally hitting that.
Yeah.
Instead of the clap.
Maybe he wanted the grump, yeah.
That's right. So was that a reference to developers? That was impressive. All right, let's talk about the SPFx samples. We have 2 repositories for extensions and web parts, and you can find them all under aka.ms/spfx-web parts. And these are the latest updates. We have a new application extension that is hidden for guest user by Mohammed Mayar. We have an update to the Rhythm of Business calendar by Dan Turley. Accessing Azure Table Storage data using Azure API Management by Ijaz. That's a new web part. And then we have a new web part called Cascading Dropdowns, and it seems like a classic. We have an article on this in the Microsoft documentation, but someone from the community reached out to me and said, hey, I just can't get this to work. Can you give me a sample of it? And so now there is a sample that shows a maybe more up-to-date version of the cascading dropdowns. Go take a look at these new samples. They're all available at aka.ms/spfx web parts. And we look forward to any of your contributions. If you got some cool samples to share, please don't hesitate and reach out and submit a pull request. And that's it for me. Back to you.
All right, Derek, you there? Derek. No. Yes. All right. Well, there's some aces, and you want to check those aces out.
No, Derek is here. He just unmuted.
I'm right.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm right
There you
here,
go.
Chris.
I did do a little better than I did. There you go.
I'm not grunting though.
Oh.
All right, so ACEs, we have some great new 1.18 GA ACEs from Alex, showcasing some of the new functionality that we've got. We've got an input card for people search, a survey prompt, and a way to start a chat, all sort of using this new functionality in 1.18. But if you have more samples or you're doing stuff with 1.18 and ACEs, this is the place where you can put those. I want to be doing some new PRs and get those new sites up. So please, please, please submit new stuff. And next, Chris.
Perfect. All right, I think it's time for you to turn on your cameras, and we'll take a picture of all the pretty people and you other ones. It'd be great. Everyone, as we're waving, feel free to grunt. Whatever you need to do.
Please
Oh, I can
don't.
turn my camera on.
No.
Maybe don't.
No.
This call's over. All right.
SharePoint monkey is in the house.
Oh. Ooh.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. Oh, now the monkey has gone. Oh, there. Okay, fine. We have 50 seats in the room. Familiar faces, few more seats. No. It's the SharePoint monkey. Come on, the good old SharePoint monkey.
There's a monkey and there's a bear.
There's the bear. Oh, there.
Does anyone else see the bear? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sitting right next to the bear, so I'm like literally trying to stare at it. Right. What's going on with the bear?
Okay, a few more seats, and I will put the recording on, and let's do some hand waving, everybody. And we'll grab a key animation. That welcome to and awesome to have you in the call. Just been a really weird intro. Hopefully we will not continue the grunting in the future. Excellent. Thanks everybody. We'll grab a key animation out of that. So let's go to the demos of today. Who are those, Chris?
All right.
Or David.
So
Chris, David, Chris.
it's
David.
me. Forget David. He's out of here. All right. João, you've got the Embed Teams chat and SharePoint pages. Take away whenever you've got it.
All right. Share the screen. Let me know when you can see it.
Yep, we see it. Go for it.
All right. So, hello everyone. My name is João Ferreira. I'm from Portugal, and I'm an Office or Microsoft 365 development MVP. And today I'm here to talk a bit about an experiment that I did a few weeks ago to show how to embed Microsoft Teams chats in SharePoint pages. I've been thinking in a solution similar to what LinkedIn has for quite some time. So if you are not familiar with LinkedIn, there's this messaging option in LinkedIn where you can chat with people and quickly open chats and have conversations. And my idea was to do something similar to SharePoint, bringing Microsoft Teams to the context of SharePoint pages, modern SharePoint pages across all modern sites. So if I was working in SharePoint in the browser, I would be able to quickly access to the chats without the need to open the Teams client. The problem with this solution that prevent me to implement is that it required a lot of work to implement something native. It would be basically reinvent Microsoft Teams inside of SharePoint with a SharePoint solution with millions of calls to Microsoft Graph, and I never did it because of that huge work. A few weeks ago, or probably 2 months ago, I think this was around Microsoft Build, I saw this announcement where external links from Microsoft Teams conversation would open in Microsoft Edge if you are a Microsoft Edge user. If you are not, too bad, this feature doesn't work for you. This would open the Teams conversation in the context of the link. So you would be able to read the page that someone shared with you, while at the same time, you would see the conversation right next to the page, and you would be able to quickly reply or add relevant information to this. So I looked to this approach from Microsoft, officially supported everything that I was planning to implement already built, and this was too good to be true. So I went to dig a bit more about it. I did a quick inspect, and I found that this is actually a usable URL that you can get and display inside of SharePoint. So for those of you that were thinking that I did a huge implementation of this solution, building everything manually, no, I didn't. I'm using what Microsoft has. This is what is happening behind the scenes. So now to get this inside of SharePoint, what I did was created a SharePoint framework extension to add Microsoft Teams to the footer of the page. So basically, the SharePoint framework extension injects Microsoft Teams in all modern pages. This, well, at least in my tenant, I deployed it globally, and it adds that component to the bottom of the page. So rather than seeing the PowerPoint slides, let me bring up here the browser, and let me show you exactly what this is. So as you can see here at the bottom, exactly like LinkedIn has, there's this component that opens and closes and reveals the chat. It works quite well. I was impressed that it worked this well, but there are a few things that we should take into consideration in this solution. One of them is that this link doesn't work. And it picks the Windows or the Mac OS theme that you have on your computer automatically. So I'm using the dark theme, so this displays in dark mode automatically. And if I was using the normal theme, this would be white. So other than this, you can have chats wherever you are inside of SharePoint. This follows you along, follows along with you throughout the modern SharePoint pages, and it actually opens and closes with a smooth animation like LinkedIn. This was the part that took me the most to get done here. This is not yet a finalized solution. I don't have it yet in the repo, so I still need to work a few things out here. But let me just bring up Visual Studio Code. I think I have it with enough zoom so everyone can see it. Basically, there's nothing too crazy in here. What this is doing is basically creating the bottom placeholder in the application customizer. And I'm using PnPjs to get the user photo. So each user gets its own profile picture, exactly like the one in LinkedIn. And then there's this React component that has the iframe here. This is the part that does all the magic. So this is the secret sauce of this solution. All the other things is just the drawer to open and to close this out. So the solution, it's in reality super simple, but I've been finding it a lot useful inside of Microsoft Teams. I've been using it in my own tenant, and I've deployed it in a few other tenants, actually internally in the company as well, just to test, and people is loving it, and it works quite well. The problem with it, and the reason for me to not have yet submitted it to the repo, is that I need to work a few things around to make it work. So one of the limitations that I told you already is this open in Microsoft Teams. If you click on it, it doesn't do anything. It throws an error in the console. Well, this is an iframe. There's not much that we can do in here. Another thing is that if you have pin chats, sometimes they do not show up in here. Others it does. But the main thing that prevented me from submitting this to the repo yet is what happens when you go to a SharePoint page in Microsoft Teams. If this happens, then you will end up with Teams within Teams. And this is the part that I need to take care of still. I need to get the context of Teams from the extension. It's not that easy or free to do like it is with web parts. I wasn't able yet to figure out a pretty solution to do it from the extension. And I don't want to load it, or at least I want to create an option for the extension to allow the extension to either be loaded in Microsoft Teams if that's your goal, or to prevent it to load from within the site. So if you are already in Teams, well, you can have the access to the chat here, but there's no purpose on it because it's already here. Well, this is the reason, and this is the only thing that I have to do. So I hope that in the next few days, there's a new PR to get this available so everyone can contribute and move this forward. And this is pretty much what it was done. It generated a lot of noise when I posted this on Twitter a few weeks ago. But now you know the secret behind the solution, and hope you liked, and hope you will soon contribute to move it forward. All right, guys, back to you.
Very, very cool. That's the kind of awesome solution I like to see, where you're moving stuff around and figuring interesting ways to do stuff. It's awesome. Let's take a look over. Martin, you got a SharePoint news site form lookalike for us?
Hi. Yes.
Right.
Woo. Do. Let's first try to get you seeing my screen.
And we do.
Everybody sees it correctly. Wow. Okay, so building a SharePoint news site form lookalike, that's the subject of the talk today. I am Martin Lingstuyl from the Netherlands. I'm an MVP in M365 development. I'm also a Microsoft 365 architect at a great small company in the Netherlands called I4U Business Solutions. And my daughter just drew this the other day, so I thought I'd show you You could even see that she heard that I was an MVP. So if you want to follow me, just look me up in all the socials, or I've got a blog where I post some things, and I also posted some things about the subject of today. So the scenario. So SharePoint contains, of course, some lovely features like creating a great looking site in minutes. You get this nice wizard form that lets you create a nice site with a good looking URL and group mailbox, which is superb, of course. But for many organizations, this is, of course, a bridge too far. They feel like the creation of sites should be restricted because it often leads to a ginormous mess. And they are not wrong. I've seen it happen with a lot of our customers. So these organizations apply governance rules, disabling self-service site creation, one of the first things to go. Restricting access for creating sites to people with the appropriate admin permissions. So far, so good, but now they require a good process to help users get to those new sites, to let them request new sites in an orderly fashion, and not they need to go to the IT support desk and knock on the door, who's home, can someone create a site for me? Now, you can, of course, do all this manually, but it's also a great area to apply automation to. So, and plenty of solutions have sprung up to fill these requirements. They allow users to request new sites in an orderly fashion with approval, different site templates, etc., etc. For example, a very well-known one, of course, from the Microsoft 365 platform community is the Provision Assist solution, which I can safely reference without the danger of product placement, I guess. So this is recently published and provides a very nice experience in Teams, combining a Power App for user input and logic apps for automation, etc., for exactly this purpose. But of course, we can also do it in different ways. So what I'll be showing you today is a way to allow users to request new sites based on a SharePoint list and list form. It does not actually create the sites, it just allows the possibility to log the requests in an orderly fashion. And that's what this solution is about. So this is what you need. You need, of course, a SharePoint list to save site requests. You need a SPFx extension, a form customizer, and you need a very nice control from another open source repo in the Microsoft 365 community, a dynamic form, which you can find on the site as well. And a dynamic form is really a fantastic thing. And I would like to show you how it works. It's a very easy way to generate an entire form for you without writing so much as multiple lines of code. So let me just jump over to what I have here. So as you can see, I've got a VS Code open on my screen. This is what I just did was generate a very basic form customizer SharePoint framework extension. So this is a solution as you get it when you create it, using the Yeoman templating. When you run this and apply it to a SharePoint list form, this is what you get. So it's completely empty, right? So it's very nice that we have been offered this opportunity to create new forms, but you have to implement everything yourself, from loading the list item to viewing, rendering the fields, to saving the list item back. Everything, you need to do everything yourself. So the dynamic form is actually something that's very easy to snap in here and get a fully functional form. So let me just jump back into VS Code and show you how this can be done. If I just paste this in, this is the dynamic form. There's one line of code. Of course, I have to reference the dynamic form from the package that I have also, of course, installed just now. And if I now save it, it will look like this. So this is just a fully functional form which is loaded or generated by the dynamic form based on the fields of metadata that are available in my list. Now you can see that all kinds of scenarios you can use this for. This is really brilliant. Currently, I've just added a few fields. There's a URL field, there's a people picker, there's a term store picker. Everything works like a glove. And if you hit save, you can just automatically save it back to the list. So this is really a very cool thing. So let me jump back to the presentation, because having seen this, how can we use this to create a new site form? What we need is an easy form with metadata, just like what we have seen. It should also have similar features as the out-of-the-box form, which we have of which I have a picture right here. So I want to be able to write a name of the site and for it to validate if that URL is available to us, and to validate if that group mailbox is available to us. This I want to do. So for this to work, you would need to alter the functionality of the dynamic form a bit. Fortunately, there's a few fantastic features in a dynamic form that allows you to do this. And this is called, these are called the field overrides. So this is actually just a thing an object you can inject in your dynamic form, and you can say, if the list contains this field with this internal ID called some field in the screen here, let SPFx render it like this. And I've just returned a render field function here, but you can go nuts on that. You can generate entire React XML or React nodes and do all kinds of things that you think about. So the field overrides, this is really powerful. You can do all kinds of things with this. And the second thing you need is, you can just include it like this. The second thing you need is a couple of events, and those are also available. There's a list item loaded event and a before submit event. And using these events, you can take care that the data that's coming from the list form is being shaped to fit in your rendered field. And you can use a state for that. And when saving the form, you can make sure that the data is shaped back into the data shape that SharePoint will expect. So combining these two things, you can make a fantastic form. So let me just show you how that works. I've got another solution open here. And this is actually just in the, I've submitted this to the SPFx extension samples repo, so you can download it over there. As you can see, this dynamic form is a bit bigger. It contains a couple of extra properties. But if I run this, it will look as follows. So as you can see, this is the same form that I had just now. It's actually rendering on the same list. And I've got a few interesting features here. I can just type in a title. So let's say, how shall I call this test? I'm very creative today. Now you can see that that the form is looking up if this URL is available, and it will just show more or less like how the SharePoint new site form works as well. It will show you that the URL is indeed available and that the group alias is available. And if I like to do it in a different way, I mean, I have got some other sites I can just try out if those are available, and you'll see that it will check. And you'll see that it will say, this one is not available, but you can modify it and use, and it will just add a 2. This is actually just output from SharePoint APIs that I've just connected to this form customizer, and it's showing that in the form. And if I would click save, it would just save the content to the list. So as you see, this is very powerful. We've got a very simple form. For the most part, this will be rendered exactly as the list is built up. And for the parts that I want to change, I can just change them up and be creative about it and create something very nice looking with which we can generate proper requests for new sites. Just a quick word on the API. So there is this, I just checked, there's no, I think no public APIs for this, but I just checked the actual new site form for SharePoint, and it contains a couple of endpoints that you can use to validate if a group name can be used, to validate if a site URL can be used. And these two, I just implemented these two and hung them up in my solution. Of course, if Microsoft changes something up about one of these, then it might be that my solution drops out on me. Because it's not a public API, there's no backwards compatible of backwards whatever on it. No guarantees from Microsoft. So you need to be you need to keep that in mind. But still, it's a very useful API to use. If you want to see how I did it, just look up the two. Look up any of these two folders in the SPFx extensions repo. I've got one on the dynamic site form, and I've got a simpler setup for a location picker, which just shows how you can use the dynamic form in another simple way. And I've also included some of these documentation points. Well, I think that is it. Back to you, Chris, right?
Yep, you did it. Woo! Very cool, Martin. Thank you very much. And Dan, you're up. You got your tenant-wide extensions manager, and it's all yours whenever you're ready.
Absolutely. So yeah, I built a. Or first, I should mention who I am. My name is Dan. I'm a Microsoft 365 developer, consultant, kind of thing, based in Denmark. I am mostly active over on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call that by now. And I do a bunch of SPFX stuff. So the sample actually kind of came about in a weird way. There was sort of a thing where you have these properties when you do a tenant-wide deployed extension. And what I realized is that a lot of new developers don't actually know they're there. And don't leverage the options they give. So you might actually be able to save yourself some time, save a couple of API calls. And for those of us who are familiar with them and used them in the past, they tend to be quite frustrating to edit because you're editing JSON in a quick edit in classic SharePoint, which is always a fun experience. And if I recall correctly, during a community call, I think it was Vesa who was editing it, and everything sort of fell apart on him, and I realized, okay, this is not just an issue I'm having because I don't understand classic SharePoint. It's a general issue people are having, and I thought, how could we solve that? So I went ahead and I built a tool to handle just that. So I figured we should initially start looking at just how things work if you're doing it manually today. So what we have is I've just deployed a basic SPFX on 1.18 command set extension web part or a extension. Just build it straight up from the Yeoman generator. So what we have is a button in here. If we select an item, we have the command 1 and 2. That's it. Let's say we wanted to edit these properties that are the text. What you traditionally would do, you would either go to your classic app catalog, you would go to site contents, and you would then scroll down, find the tenant-wide extensions list. Microsoft actually made this a little bit easier doing with the modernization of the app catalog, where we now have more features and we can press open for the tenant-wide extensions. But we do end up in the same editor. So let's say I wanted to change this, one item is selected in the list, and I wanted to add a exclamation point into that. What I have to do is I have to press edit and sort of click into this thing, hope that I'm not missing anything, click out of it, stop editing, and it works. And sometimes you'll find it will add a bunch of like escape characters in there trying to avoid JSON. Now, if that worked, we can go in here. We can do a quick reload, and we should see the exclamation point. And that's one of those things that are hard to demo because it sort of fails sometimes. There we go. Now, I thought that process is kind of tedious. There's a lot of things you have to know. For instance, the list template, you just have to know that 101 is document libraries. You have to know these, remember these things that are command bar. You could say context menu. So I sort of packaged those away. So what you get is with the web part, you get a full list of all your tenant-wide deployed extensions. what we have now is just one extension on this tenant. I can click that. Another thing is I flipped the thing. Inside SharePoint, it's called disabled set to true, which is really frustrating. So I actually flipped that Boolean for you. So you can clearly see if it's enabled. Then we have the option to move the location to the context menu, edit the JSON with a little bit of like a bit-like theme to it so you can actually see what's going on. We could add a couple of more exclamation points here. Hit save, and there we go. Now if we head back into the document or the list in here, we should eventually see it move to the context menu. And it is not moving. Did I not set it to the, I did not move it. There we go. Maybe if I do that, it will actually work. There we go. I think, yeah, there we go. It's moved. Other than that, we have the option to move it to a different type of list. This is the documented, I think they're called like base types of lists. So I just essentially map those in to drop down to make it easier for people in case you don't have the documentation on hand. Yeah, you can move it over to a document library if you want to, and that will work. So I think that's about it for like the demo. What I'm going to talk about next is just a little bit of the technicalities and how I got to the data and how I'm doing it. So let's move on and look into some code. So the first thing I needed to do was to find a way to get access to my Tenant's app catalog. And I was actually starting to spoof around a little bit in the network traces, seeing what's going on, until I realized that PnPjs has actually figured that all out for me. And I can straight up just go ahead and say, give me the Tenant app catalog web. Now that gets me as far as to get access to the app catalog, which is great, but I need to find that list that we were just talking about. So it's down here. It's named tenant-wide extensions. The obvious thing would probably be to just say get by title. But we also all know that that is not a good idea, especially because I have seen people rename things for all kinds of reasons. So the first thing I did is I went through the documentation. Oh, that was definitely the wrong button. Thinking that these list-based types would definitely be mapped in there, and there surely is one for the tenant-wide extensions list. Well, it turns out there is one, but it's not in the documentation. Actually, there's a lot of lists types that are not in the documentation. So I found another guy on the internet who'd scraped a bunch and had a way longer list. Unfortunately, that didn't even help me either. So what I did was I just pulled the list on my tenant, verified that, and I saw that it was 337. And then I did a bit more digging, went to a couple of different tenants and found that that's like the common thing is that list is always 337. So I added it to my list types, of course, making sure that the next developer who comes along knows that it is not a documented way to do it. And then from there, it's pretty easy to get the list because it's essentially just going base template equals the list type. And then what I'm doing here is just selecting the ID and selecting sub1, being considerate about the amount of data that we're pulling. Since we're only going to use the ID in the next step where we're going to work with the extensions, that seemed like the best way to do it. So from there, what I found was that it is essentially just working with list items. I pulled them, I mapped them into a model that I like, and I can from there update anything I want on them. And yeah, so I have a service method here that's called clean extension that will remove all the OData tags and stuff that are coming along with any REST APIs that we're using in SharePoint. Other than that, no magic is happening. Calling the two other methods we just saw, resulting in a list of all the tenant-wide extensions, which I guess is unless you have more than 100, you wouldn't get those. There's probably a bug there to be fixed at some point in case somebody has that many extensions. So to summarize, there's a list in your app catalog that contains the tenant-wide extensions and all the properties of them. Of course, you can install something on a site and you can override it, but I guess this is something that I think it's not that well documented. It is mentioned in the documentation, but I've found a lot of new SPFx developers are unaware of this option. It is a really nice way to work with data that you might want to use in your solution and not have to do an API call to get, such as a message of the day or something like along those lines. And yeah, sometimes you have to go the unofficial route to get the data you want, but make sure you like document it, put a little note in there. Martin was pretty nice in his presentation as well, mentioning, hey, I'm doing this thing that is not the official way to do it. Unfortunately, there's just times where that is the best way to do things. Yeah, rounding off, sometimes we just have a lot of fun when we go, hey, I wonder if I could do that with code, which was essentially what triggered this, because I was just frustrated with that classic experience. Yeah, so I guess I am a little bit short on time, but if there are any questions, feel free, and I'll pick those up. It does not have any it doesn't backfire on security since it is using the current user's permission. So it would probably just fail pretty hard and throw an exception if you try it and you're not authorized to edit in there. Or most realistically, it will probably just not actually update anything and not show an error to the user because I didn't handle those. So no, I don't see there being any real security issues since the users do have access to the information they're being portrayed here. Yeah, and I think that's about it for me.
All right, thank you, Dan. That was awesome. And I'll shift this back over here. Really appreciate it. Very, very cool stuff. You built a modern manager for our modern customizations, right? I mean, nothing better than editing JSON in a quick edit view. But I suppose we could do a little bit. That's awesome. Thank you very much. And let's talk about the exciting other slide. Oh man, I took back over the slides, but now they don't move. Oh, there we go. Yes. Oh no. All right. If you have feedback on this, so you are interested in telling us how we did, you can go to this link here, this community/call/feedback with the aka.ms on the front. I'd like to do my URLs backwards for you. If you go there, fill that out. You can let us know what's going on, what you'd like to see different, that you would like Hugo to talk less. Understandable. Make sure you put that in there. Perfect. All right. And then finally, make sure you join our Discord server. So this is something that's growing quite a bit. We're getting a lot of traction there, a lot of people coming in. Not a whole lot of discussion yet. So be brave. Be posting your comments. There's a lot of experts in there. They're looking to help you. Talk about things, post a blog, whatever you got in there. That'd be great. And finally here, this recording of this will be available in 24 hours. Of course, if you're already watching this on YouTube, you know that. What? Oh, crazy. All right, but you can go to that link right there to find these videos anytime and then join us next week for some more calls. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for all of our awesome presenters and everybody else. And catch you later. Bye-bye.